Welcome to the Living LG3 podcast. Hi, I'm Rachel Niemeyer. Do you remember your own experience of figuring out what you want to do after high school? Well, today we have with us Sydney Adrian. She's our high school counselor, and she's going to walk through with us what we do at Sioux Falls Christian and her own journey of discovering and figuring that out for herself. So thanks for joining us. Hi, Sydney.
Hi, Rachel.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Great. Thanks for joining us. It's good. It's exciting to have you here. And it's a big question, right? Like thinking about our future. I'm sure you have students come in your office all the time, regularly, just wrestling with that, right? It's the rest of your life, and they're still trying to learn about themselves and figure themselves out. So would you first just start with your own story and how you ended up becoming a school counselor?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I just remember senior year being very, very confusing and kind of overwhelming because there's all these different opportunities that you could have. All of my friends are saying all these cool things that they're going to do after high school. And I just felt like I had no idea. I was interested in everything. I loved math. I loved science. I loved reading. And I was in so many different activities. I liked all of these things. And so going on college visits and like picking out a career, it felt very overwhelming. And I do remember having like the mid-year senior meltdown where you just like freak out because you have no idea what you want to do. And it does happen with our kids here at school too.
I'm glad you can personally relate to them.
Yes. Because it's just a lot. And I remember feeling this pressure when I was in high school where I had to pick something, like pick something now, know what you want to do. And then picking something because I felt like it sounded impressive. Not because it was actually the way that I was designed or like what I wanted to do. It was more of like, this is what I feel like people expect someone to do, or like, this is what's going to sound really cool to other people so I can one up others and do something that sounds, really, really cool and really impressive. So I went to college undecided. Like I knew where I wanted to go to college, but I went undecided. I didn't have a major, but I told everybody, well, I'm thinking I'm going to do something in like math or engineering or something in the medical field. And then getting to college, and I took a class where I did personality tests and had different opportunities to hear from different programs and really figure out who I was and how I was created. And I realized, like looking back on my experience in high school and my experience throughout life, like, yes, I loved being in sports. Yes, I loved being in band and choir. Yes, I loved math and I loved English. And I liked all of those things. But really what I liked most about all of those different things was the relationships that I had with other people while I did those things, whether it was helping someone else in class and just being a part of a team or getting to work with other people. Like that was the thing that brought me into all of those different spaces and helped me realize like that was the most important piece.
I'm going to quick ask you a question with that. Did you have any of those personality tests that you said you did at college? Did you have that opportunity in high school at all? Because I know that you do that here at Sioux Falls Christian with our students.
So the only time that I had that opportunity was in 8th grade when we did it with I think it was with our school counselor. And we took a personality test and got careers matched to us. And I was like, these careers do not fit. It was like lifeguard and like art teacher. And I was like, I've never taken an art class in my whole life. I'm not going to be an art teacher. But there was pieces of that fit, you know, like the lifeguard, helping people, the art teacher, again, helping people, but also being creative because I was in choir and band.
Sure. So you would say those kind of tests give you a broad perspective, right, of possible options?
Yes.
Kind of starts to give direction.
It gives direction, and you have to look at those things and not think about the careers that pop up, like the good career suggestions, but what are the personality traits? And then what kind of careers could fit that personality trait?
I find it interesting because you also, right away, you started talking about your favorites. So speaking to that a little bit more, like when you talk with students and they're thinking about their future, how does that collide with favorites?
Yeah. As in like favorite activities or interests and things like that.
Yeah, how do you utilize that?
So I saw it with myself and I see it with kids where they are trying to meet this expectation of what they want other people to view them as instead of what things they actually really like and are interested in. And so when it comes to like favorites, it might be favorites, but like also what is attainable? Like what are you good at? Because I think I've had a couple of conversations within the last week with kids where they want this certain experience. Well, I'd really like to do this, but it's not offered at this school, and that's where I want to go. Or this sounds like a good career path, but like I want to have the college experience like everybody else is having. And so that gets a little bit tricky too, I think, is what are you actually interested in, and what do you think other people like want you to do?
Yeah.
But like for favorites, like other favorite things, what's interesting is like you could want to do something in the medical field, but you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a surgeon. You need people of all different personality types and all different skill sets in that path. So you and someone else might be interested in the medical field, like both of you are, but you're not going to have the same path.
Yeah.
Their favorite thing might be working with people. For someone else, their favorite thing might be actually like doing surgery or I don't know, things like that.
Have you ever had those light bulb moments with a student when you're talking about that, right? Their interests, the things they enjoy, their favorites, and then it brings in that whole space of how God's made them and that opportunity then from them to discover like, whoa, I am uniquely different in that, because that's that whole connection, right? Of them to start recognizing that God designed me this way. And they're starting to recognize that rather it's not just about themselves thinking this is what I like, but like ultimately God's designing them for that direction. So even for your own story, right?
Yeah.
You went into there and you started realizing I love helping people. So how did that come full circle into counseling?
Yeah. So, sometimes I feel like they do a lot of this in lead class when they're a senior, and then they spend a lot of time talking about how God created them and how these different things fit them. And then I feel like for me, my piece more is, okay, you know that. How do we connect you with that? Yeah. Like, how do we connect you with these different opportunities that you could have and things like that to try to...
So what does that process look like a little bit?
For connecting kids.
Do you have an example? Yeah, maybe you think of an example of a student and what they were maybe thinking, and then what were those next steps for them? Maybe we can take a college student, one that decides they want to go to a 4-year college, and that's maybe where they're right there. Like, I know I want to go to get my 4-year degree. What would you walk alongside them to figure out at that point?
Yeah, I think like when kids are trying to figure out what they want to do, one of my biggest things that I tell them is that I don't have the answer for everything. Like I don't know everything about each college, about each program, but what they need to do is they need to go on a college visit and look at the list of classes they would be taking. Yeah. Look at the different requirements and ask questions, because if you there sometimes is like a disconnect between what you think you want to do and what requires you to actually do that. So like for me personally, I at one point I thought I wanted to be an architect because I liked math. I liked building hands-on things like with my stepdad. That was just like stuff we did for fun together. But then I looked at the program of study and it required you to do drawing, an art studio, and like all these different things. And I was like, I hate art. I've never done art in my life.
Sure.
And so for kids, they find that out too, where they'll go, or I'll point it out to them sometimes, like, oh, you want to do this? Well, these are all the maths. These are all the sciences. Like, these are the other things you're going to have to do. And sometimes they're like, oh, yes, that sounds perfect. That's amazing. And other times they go, oh, that sounds awful. I have to do that for the next couple of years of my life. I do not want to do that. And so I think that helps a lot. And then also trying to help them figure out their lifestyle, I think, is also a huge thing. I know a lot of our like young, the young men and women, they're trying to think about, how does this impact my future family? Like, what's that going to look like? And so we talk about that a little bit. Like, okay, you say you want to do this career path. Your hours are going to be this. Will that work with your family? will you have to move somewhere else? Are you going to be able to stay around? Like just those different things. And sometimes that can impact what they decide they want to do.
Yeah. So
as well.
have you had that where a student's kind of gone down a certain path, been going that direction for quite a while, and all of a sudden they change their mind? What does that look? Can you give an example of that?
Well, I just love how at the beginning, so at the end of junior year, I meet with every junior, and I ask them, have you done this yet? Have you done that? And then I say, what are some career paths and schools that you're interested in? And then they fill out a form for me. And then it's really fun at the end of senior year when they get to graduation and senior chapel. And some people have completely changed. And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, that fits. Like that makes a little bit more sense. Because senior year is a process. Like it's a journey of trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do. And you don't have to have the answers right away. Like you should be exploring. You should be asking questions. You shouldn't feel like you have to know it all right away, and then take that time to look into things and figure it out.
So a student that walks that, right? You said that you see that. It's pretty cool. What makes that like almost like that whole rewarding space in your job, right? Because you're helping them through that. But how do you see that change them when they recognize, whoa, like this is where I belong?
I feel like they're just so confident in their decision when they know that it fits and it kind of clicks.
Yeah.
And they also, I don't know, they're just, it seems like they're just more excited. Like you can kind of, when students don't really know, you can kind of see the hesitancy in the way that they're talking about it. But then once they figure it out, it's amazing how like passionate they are about that, or just like full steam ahead, like ready to go.
Yep. So once they've kind of made that decision of where they want to go to college, maybe what they're wanting to go for, what is your next thing that you usually guide them towards? Scholarships, like what are those next steps?
So once, what I advise a lot of students, some of them know like right away where they want to go to school and some of them don't, but I advise them like apply to a couple of different schools and then fill out your scholarship applications for those schools, because that's where you're going to get the most money. It's not outside scholarships. You might get some outside scholarships, but most of your money is going to come directly from the school. And then they've got to fill out their FAFSA, and then do all of their other paperwork for the school, like housing, meal plan, all that kind of stuff. And then once you get all that information about your finances back, then maybe you can make a more determined decision. Like that might play into where you're going to go or be a factor in deciding where you're going to go. But once they've decided, I feel like they're handed off more to the admissions counselor at the college or at the school, and they more walk alongside them and tell them like, this is what you need to be doing.
Yeah. Yep. So yes, when students start to decide where they're going, I mean, we have anywhere from the private school to a 2-year to going right into the workforce. How would you help guide them, like help a parent, right? It's overwhelming. I have a new freshman in college, right? And making those decisions, there's just all these thoughts and questions that you have. One thing I've noticed for myself is having a friend that has walked that story, right? Has gone through this journey already, and just having that person to bounce ideas off of and questions. And one of them that I have learned over the years, I often actually hear from parents have come to me, is my kid's gone off to a public university. How do you help walk alongside? What do I do as a parent to help walk alongside them in their faith walk? You know, when you're going into that space. And what would your thoughts be for a parent that's asking that question?
Well, I think any kid that is, or any student that is leaving your house, whether it's for a 2-year, 4-year workforce, whatever they're going to be doing, no matter where they're going, you've set them up. And so now they're kind of, they're leaving the nest. You know, you've done the preparation work. They're a gift from God, and they've been yours for 18 years. And now you kind of just have to trust that God's going to keep a hold on them and do something with their life. And so some have it figured out before they leave. Like they're like, yes, I'm 100%, like I'm on fire in my relationship with Jesus. and they know, and they're grounded in that. And that feels comforting, I think, for parents to know that. And then for others, they might not be. And that's not where they're at. I know for me, that wasn't where I was at when I graduated high school. Like, I think I grew up in a church family, but didn't really invest in my faith and have a deep relationship with Christ until a couple years into my college experience, because that's just a formational time of your life when you're figuring all of those things out and exploring all of those things. But if you are trying to encourage your kids or walk alongside them, I think when you go on visits anywhere, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, whatever college visits you go on, ask about ministry on campus so your kids are aware of it, so you can't make them go,
Right.
But at least they know that opportunity is there because they are there.
Yeah.
It's same thing with other paths too. Like, my brother's in the military, and he and his buddies, they go to church every Sunday and they have Bible study because it's there on the military base for them, and that's something they can do.
Yep.
But I think continuing, asking questions subtly about, like, oh, have you found a church yet? Or what kind of groups are you getting involved in? Because you can't force them to do anything. They're gone now, but you can try to remind them of what's important, but without nagging, if that's the right word.
Totally.
Because they are an independent person now, and it's got to be their investment.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting when we did some college visits as well, just being intentional to ask those colleges like you're talking about, what do they have on campus? What was really intriguing for me was to hear, actually kind of gave me a feel for how strong that presence was on the campus, based off of that answer, like talking to some of the people that were in charge of those clubs, those ministries, and then even asking them beyond the college campus what the community is like, or that city is like, for opportunities. So yeah, speaking into what you're talking about, actually, I would love to hear, you said a couple years into college is what it was for you.
Yeah.
What is it that was it an individual that walked alongside you? Was you seeking it out? Was it church? What was it for you?
I guess looking back, I feel like it was definitely God's hand in there, working the whole time, even though I didn't see it. I had great friends and great roommates in college, and a couple of them were very much invested into their faith. Like, as soon as they got to college, they were in that, and we were good friends, but I wasn't necessarily in it as much as they were, and they were going off to their Bible studies and doing their things, and I think I was maybe trying to look for approval in other places, like nothing crazy, but trying to find approval with people on my floor, or be like the cool person, like I don't know. So I had like that going on, just trying to find fulfillment in other areas. Like, oh, if I am in choir and I get this solo, I'm going to feel fulfilled. Oh, if I get A's in my classes, I'm going to be fulfilled. If I get this cute boy, that's in my class to ask me on a date, I'm going to be fulfilled. And then getting a couple years into college, and starting to attend these Bible studies with my friends because they were asking me, or like seeking out these opportunities, and going through that, realizing like, wow, I'm relying on all these external things at college to fulfill me, but really the only thing that's going to fulfill me is Christ and my relationship with him. And I can actually like specifically remember being in Bible study and just having that click moment of like, this is what it is. Like, this is what I'm missing. What have I been doing this whole time? But yeah, I do think that God was working through all of those things to like teach me different lessons throughout that whole time.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's always so much. It's just real, right? When we can share our story, and everybody's story is going to be different, right? Our listeners today too, listening to your story, some of them are going to resonate like, oh yeah, that was so similar to mine. And then there's going to be the other side, right? And that too is important for our students to hear the variety, and for them to recognize their story is going to be their own within God, and just that constant seeking Him. So pulling it back a little bit to Sioux Falls Christian, what would you say, Sydney, from a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th, senior, what are we doing to help them guide that step at each level from your role?
Yeah, so freshman year is really, I'll say this first. Transition points are very hard for kids. So freshmen, the majority of students that come into my office or down to the counseling space that are walking through hard is freshman year and senior year, because they have huge transitions. They just started high school or they're just about to leave.
Sure.
And that's where we see the most emotional turmoil. But for us, like helping guide them, freshman year, a lot of it is about starting good habits, like communicating with teachers, getting your homework done, finding activities to be involved in. Activities are so important because it helps you feel connected with other students and connected to school in a way that isn't just, I have to do my homework because my teacher says I have to do it. Yep. So freshman year, just a lot of, building those skills. Sophomore year, I'm actually going in soon to go meet with all of the sophomores, and we're going to do a career personality test. And I will try my best to explain to them, like, don't pay attention to the careers.
Sure.
Pay attention to the personality traits. So we're going to do that. And then junior year is really when you start to hit the ground running. And so I try to communicate with them, start early, start going on visits to colleges, start asking about different careers, start job shadowing, all of those things, because junior year is hard. It's when you have all of your tests that you have to take for college, your test to join the military if you want to do that. Just lots of those things. And then picking out what you want to do your senior year for classes, because senior year is when kids start to really branch off into different areas and take a variety of things. You're not doing the same thing as all of your classmates anymore because you all have different interests. And so senior year is taking those variety of classes and picking things that fit them and their personality, and then doing those final, bow ties on their senior year where they are submitting their college applications, applying for financial aid, applying for scholarships, all of those kinds of things.
So our podcast is called Living LG3. How would you say you see that come alive with the students that you interact with here at school?
So, like the love piece, I see while they're here at school, we get to love on them. Like as staff members, we are pouring into our kids. Our staff pours into our kids so much. Hopefully that we're planting those seeds that they can carry with them throughout the rest of their life. And then while they're here, they also get to grow. That we teach them different subjects, help them find their passions, and then it's time for them to go. And it's a big step. But I think for all of us, our hope is that they're going to take the love and the knowledge that they've gotten here and go out into the world and serve and glorify God in whatever capacity that calls them into. So I try to help kids see, like, you don't have to go into ministry in order to glorify the Lord in what you do. You can glorify Him in the business field. You can glorify Him in various occupations. It's what you're doing in those occupations and how you're impacting others, because you are the seeds. Like you're planting seeds for Christ in whatever space you go into and the people that you interact with.
Absolutely. It's like that whole analogy of from our head to our heart to our hands and calling them to go. So thank you for being with us, Sydney.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This has been fantastic. And I think our parents are going to really appreciate hearing from you in that angle. They hear a lot of awesome information of how to step through this with their kids, but just a different perspective of your own journey as well. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today with the Living LG3 podcast. We want to invite you to listen to our other podcasts as well. Until next time, have a great day.